They are specifically known as Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect. Although the Nitya Siddhas appear in the material world and seem to be common members of the world, they never forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any condition. This is the symptom of a Nitya Siddha. There are two kinds of living entities, Nitya Siddha and Nitya Baddha. The Nitya Siddha never forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality, whereas the Nitya Baddha is always conditioned even before the creation. He always forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here the Lord informs the two Brahmanas that they are his servants birth after birth. The phrase birth after birth refers to the material world, because in the spiritual world there is no birth, death, old age or disease. By the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Nitya Siddha remains within this material world like an ordinary man, but the only business of the Nitya Siddha is to broadcast the glories of the Lord. This incident appears to be an ordinary story about a marriage transaction involving two ordinary people. But however, Krishna accepted the two Brahmanas as his eternal servants. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22 and Text 33. Sabharyaha Saprajaha Kaman Sabharyaya Saprajaha Kaman Bubuje Anya Virodataha Bubujenya Virodataha Sangiyamana Satkirtihi Sangiyamana Satkirtihi Sastribihi Suragayakaihi Sastribihi Suragayakaihi Pratyusheshu Anubadhena Pratyusheshu Anubadhena Hruda Shunvan Harehe Kataha Hruda Shunvan Hare Kadaha Sabharyaya Saprajah Kaman Bubuje Anya Virodataha Sangiyamana Satkirtihi Sastribhi Suragayakaihi Pratyusheshu Anubadhena Hruda Shunman Hare Katha. Sabhadyaha, along with his wife, Saprajaha, along with his subjects, Kaman, the necessities of life, Bubujhe, he enjoyed, Anya, from others, Avirodataha, without disturbance, Sangiyamana, being praised, Satkirtihi, reputation for pious activities, Sastribihi, along with their wives, Suragayakai, by celestial musicians, Prati Usheshu, at every dawn, Anubadhena, being attached, Hruda, with the heart, Shunvan, listening to, Harehe, of Lord Hari, Kataha, the topics. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Emperor Svāyambhuva Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subjects and fulfilled his desires without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religion. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about the pure reputation of the emperor, and early in the morning every day he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a loving heart. Please repeat. Emperor Svāyambhuva Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subjects and fulfilled his desires without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religion. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about the pure reputation of the emperor, and early in the morning every day he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a loving heart. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Human society is actually meant for realization of perfection in Krishna consciousness. There is no restriction against living with a wife and children that one may not go against the principles of religion, economic development, regulated sense enjoyment, and ultimately liberation from material existence. The Vedic principles are designed in such a way that the conditioned souls who have come to this material existence may be guided in fulfilling their material desires and at the same time be liberated and go back to Godhead, back home. It is understood that Emperor Svāyambhuva Manu enjoyed his household life by following these principles. It is stated here that early in the morning there were musicians who used to sing with musical instruments about the glories of the Lord, and the Emperor with his family personally used to hear about the pastimes of the Supreme Person. This custom is still prevalent in India in some of the royal families and temples. Professional musicians sing with the shahnais, and the sleeping members of the house gradually get up from their beds in a pleasing atmosphere. During bedtime also, the singers sing songs in relationship with the pastimes of the Lord with the shahnai accompaniment, and the householders gradually fall asleep remembering the glories of the Lord. In every house, in addition to the singing program, there is an arrangement for the Bhagavatam lectures in the evening. Family members sit down, hold Hare Krishna Kirtan, hear narrations from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and enjoy music before going to bed. The atmosphere created by this Sankirtan movement lives in their hearts and while sleeping they also dream of the singing and glorification of the Lord. In such a way, perfection of Krishna consciousness can be attained. This practice is very old, as learned from this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Millions of years ago, Svāyambhuva Manu used to avail himself of this opportunity to live householder life in the peace and prosperity of the Krishna conscious atmosphere. As far as temples are concerned, in each and every royal palace, a rich man's house, inevitably there is a nice temple, and the members of the household rise early in the morning and go to the temple to see the Mangala ceremony. The Mangala ceremony is the first worship of the morning. In the Aratrika ceremony, a light is offered in circles before the deities, as are a conch shell and flowers and a fan. The Lord is supposed to rise early in the morning and take some light refreshment and give audience to the devotees. The devotees then go back to house, sing the glories of the Lord in the temple. The early morning ceremony will takes place in Indian temples and palaces. Temples are meant for the assembly of the general public. Temples within the palaces are especially for the royal families, but in many of these palace temples, the public is also allowed to visit. The temple of the king of Jaipur is situated within the palace, but the public is allowed to assemble. If one goes there, he will see that the temple is always crowded with at least 500 devotees. After the Mangalatrika ceremony, they sit down together and sing the glories of the Lord with musical instruments and thus enjoy life. Temple worship by the royal family is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, where it is stated that those who fail to achieve success in the Bhakti Yoga principles within one life are given a chance to take birth in the next life in a family of rich men or in a royal family, a family of learned brahmanas or devotees. If one gets the opportunity to take birth in these families, he can achieve the facilities of a Krishna conscious atmosphere without difficulty. A child born in that Krishna atmosphere is sure to develop Krishna consciousness. The perfection which he failed to attain in his last life is again offered in this life, and he can make himself perfect without fail. The Sansta Bhaktivedanta Parpoto Madhyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namah Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verse is talking about royal families and their lives in their palaces. In the last few verses we have seen how Svāyambhuva Manu returned to his palace in Bahishmati city, and as soon as he entered his palace, he immediately got relieved from the threefold miseries of material existence. Now, how is it that as soon as he entered the palace, he got relieved from all those sufferings? Because we can see the environment that is present, the atmosphere that is present within the palace was so centered around the Supreme Lord that as soon as he entered, immediately he felt home. This satisfaction is satisfaction of the soul. At the level of the soul, he experienced a deep satisfaction of being in the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So, it is not that these big palaces and royal families are meant for unrestricted sense enjoyment. As soon as the royal families degraded to that extent, simply utilizing all the facility, sabharya, sapraja, all the praja, the citizens and the wife and maid servants along with the wife, when all these facilities were misused, exploited for one's own sense enjoyment, then the royal families degraded and they became like Shudras or less than Shudras, and they lost the opportunity to revive their Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is mentioning here, quoting from Bhagavad Gita, it's a great opportunity to take birth in these royal families, rich families, mercantile families, and also a good Krishna conscious or Brahminical families. There are extraordinary opportunities at the time of birth, because in such families the culture is so centered around Krishna that the child from the beginning would develop those tendencies. Children, they imitate their parents, they imitate the culture. So when they are born into such families where Krishna consciousness is actively present, then it becomes very easy for the child to develop such tendencies and practices. And the childhood memories are very powerful, they're very strong. Those memories will not leave a person easily. So if the child gets exposed to such wonderful experiences, like here there is a description about how these family members, they sleep, they wake up, and then what they do, everything is elaborately described here. Otherwise, why Bhagavatam will be interested in describing some family life, an ordinary person? No. He is not an ordinary person. Svāyambhuva Manu is a great exalted emperor, devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord, and he is setting an example here how to live with sabharya, sapraja, along with his wife and his all the citizens and various other paraphernalia. And then, but did he enjoyed his life? Yes. Kaman bubuje anya virodataha. He has satisfied, fulfilled his desires. Kaman, in the association of his wife, in the association of the citizens, he has fulfilled his desires, but anya virodataha, without breaking the dharmic principles. For Gruhastha, it is important that he considers this dharmic, dharmadha, kama moksha, these dharmic principles are kept in mind. All these four principles are practiced in such a way that they can reach the fifth principle nicely. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has mentioned that these four principles are not the highest. Dharmadha, kama, moksha. He has mentioned that these four are called Purushadha, Chatur Purushadha, four principles. Generally, the common man follows this principle, at least supposed to follow these principles. He has to first of all follow the dharmic principle. That means he should not break the rules and regulations that the Lord has given for a cooperative living within this material world. Krishna, he has sent all the living entities because they wanted to come here. Yes, he has created this world, but he also designed certain rules and regulations. He has given some principles so that these living entities can coexist peacefully. without unnecessary competitive spirit and quarreling with each other and fighting for the resources and waging wars on each other, Krishna has made a framework within which everybody can enjoy all these facilities, whatever resources are there in this material world, living entities can enjoy. After all these resources, they are all property of the Supreme Lord. And the living entities are their children, Krishna's children, the Supreme Lord's children. So at the expense of their father, they all can enjoy these facilities. It is given. But if the children, they fight among themselves, particularly to exploit these resources for their sense gratification, it becomes a hellish environment. So dharma is like that. Dharma is for regulating their enjoyment. Enjoyment is not made nil, but it is regulated. Of course, there are processes by which there are certain paths where they recommend complete abstinence from sense enjoyment, but that is not for general public. Generally, the Vedas are designed in such a way that this enjoying tendency and the material desires are regulated, controlled. Ordinarily, for example, somebody is really fascinated about eating meat, and if you go and tell him that you have to stop eating meat, then immediately they will become very upset. They will not be able to stop it actually. So the Vedic regulation, there is a ritual that has been created, and the regulation is that they have to offer an animal, only goat, that's all, there is no other animal. This, the various varieties, this chicken, beef, this, that, all those things, there is nothing. Vedas permitted only one animal, goat. You have to bathe the goat nicely, cleanse it nicely, put a garland, and then only one day in a month, that is dark night, Amavasya, in the night, in front of Kali, he has to bring that animal, sacrificial animal, and then he has to take a chopper, and in one chop he has to cut the head. See, so many details are given. But before that, he has to tell the goat, Mam Saha. Mam Saha means Mam, Saha means he. So this mantra meaning is that he gets the right to kill me. Because the goat is offered in front of Kali, the goat will be elevated to human life in the next life, in the immediate life, because Durga is watching, Kali is watching, that the goat is sacrificing its life, so you will get elevation. And that human being who is killing, he is saying that, I am killing this animal, and then in the next life, he will become a goat, and then that goat will become a human being, and then he will kill him. This is the opportunity. Of course, the human being, he can exercise his free will and not to kill also. He can forgive, but opportunity will be given. There is an opportunity to kill back the person who has killed, even though it is sacrifice, even though it is mentioned in the Vedas. If one follows that, even then he has to go through that reaction. So that means why then this thing is mentioned? Because by following the Vedic regulation, the the desire to eat meat is now regulated. This is actually not allowance, it is regulation. You can see only once in a month, because Amavasyas won't come, 100 times in a month. Only once in a month you have that opportunity. And then if you see the animal is getting elevated, this is an important point. Any sacrifice in which an animal is offered, the ultimate goal should be, it should be elevated. For a goat to come to human life, it takes many births, many evolutionary births. But here, it immediately in the next life it comes to that point. So there is an elevation for the animal, and slowly this man who is gone killing, he will one day, bulb may glow, and then he will feel that, okay, I am killing so many animals, and it is very dangerous for me. Prabhupada quotes, there is one example, Prachina Barhishat is a king like that. He is fascinated by this karma kandiya sacrifices, and he used to offer so many animals, as part of the sacrifice. So one day Narada Muni visits him and shows him. Now he gives him a special vision. Now you look into the sky. In the sky he sees all those animals who are killed by him. They are waiting for him to die. They are all waiting. The reaction is there even in this sacrificial thing, but there is an elevation for the soul of the animal, and for him there is a restriction, and also there is a possibility of realizing his mistake. But let us say that regulation is, dharma is not followed. The dharma is not followed, and he kills the goat at his whims, whenever he wants. Then it will be counted as a murder, and then 8 categories of people will get implicated in this murder. Life for life. If somebody takes away life, that's it. He has to give his life. 8 kinds of categories Manu Samhita explains. So like that, there are dharmic principles are there in every sphere of material enjoyment. Even the relation between husband and wife, there are regulations. And then eating, yes, we discussed, there are some regulations. And like that, in every sphere, there are certain dharmic principles prescribed. And so, one is, expected to follow this dharma. And then, ardha, when somebody becomes dharmika, then automatically he will develop economically also. Economic development will be there. And then kama, then he can fulfill his desires of satisfying his senses. And then while doing all this, gradually he becomes inclined at a later stage in his life towards liberation, moksha. In fact, it is said that after 50 years, one has to take up vanaprastha, and along with a wife, he has to travel to the Tirthasthala and develop attachment to Krishna. And at some more age, he has to leave the wife in the custody of the grown-up children, and then the man should take sannyas and go and completely dedicate his life. This was the ideal varnashrama situation in which Svāyambhuva Manu is now situated and is practicing nicely. And but of course, if you take the modern society today, this varnashrama is impossible to practice. But the principles are given here. Like Swayambhuva Manu is, you can see every day he has a sadhana. He is to get up early in the morning, offer Mangala arati, and then do kirtans and hear Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, both in the morning and in the night. You used to hear, here it is mentioned, Hruda Shunvan Hare Katha, the pastimes of the Supreme Lord Hari, he used to hear Anubaddhena, with a loving heart. Now this is an important point. We have to hear Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita with a loving heart, with a certain eagerness. Your love is exhibited by repeatedly hearing. One will not become bored by repeating the same pastime or same story or the same thing again and again. This is love. Love means repetition. If somebody is repeating holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, and then again one more mantra, same mantra, but once again, is actually developing his love. The loving tendency, the loving propensity is developed by repeatedly taking shelter, taking association of Supreme Lord. After all, who would want to hear again and again? Only one who is in love. So these are all the symptoms, external symptoms, by which we can see how far we are advancing. Of course, we are in the conditioned life. So sadhana bhakti means because of love of the spiritual master, one repeats all these things day after day, day after day. For example, Prabhupada is saying one should attend Mangala arati. One should get up early, at least by 4, and then by 4:30 the first arati should be attended. Most of the population today, they are not accustomed to waking up at such an early timing, say 4 a.m. The devotees who are part of the ashram, they are fortunate. They have an ideal environment in which they can easily get up early in the morning in the association of Vaishnavas. There are some Vaishnavas who never miss Mangalarti. Taking such an example, whole community should practice this Mangalarti. There is one secret to getting up early, and if this secret is understood, then we are successful in our life. And what is that secret? To sleep early. Because we can't, day after day, we will not be able to wake up if you are short on sleep. We have to realize that limitation also. Youngsters, they should do that. Whatever time they may be sleeping, it could be 12 or 1 or 2, they should be ready for Mangalarti. Only after 50, some exemption. Other than that, one should come regularly for Mangalarti. It is a very auspicious time, very, very auspicious time. Every 45 minutes, there is a muhurta changes. So 1.5 before, that means 2 muhurtas before sunrise, that is called Brahma Muhurta. After that comes Shiva, Rudra Muhurta, then comes the sunrise. So we are supposed to get up and offer our Mangala Arati during Brahma Muhurta, and then continue the practice by chanting, praying to Krishna, Guru and Krishna, and then chanting our prescribed 16 rounds. These are all very important sadhana bhakti elements. Not only that, they give a deep satisfaction and happiness which drives the devotee day after day to repeat these activities. Devotees enjoy these sankirtans, they enjoy this dancing and sankirtan and this and that. So the other day we had a program in Jahirabad. Throughout the whole procession, devotees are singing and dancing. They are not tired. So that is the kind of enjoyment that devotees want to enjoy. So here we can see this, because they are royal families. In the early morning there used to be a musical performance with Shahnai accompaniments. The Shahnai players, they used to come on a nice, very nice, actually this is a very nice music, Shahnai music. And then they used to sing songs glorifying Krishna, Hari, and by hearing those wonderful music and sounds, the family members used to get up from their bed in a very pleasing environment. So in our ashram also, of course, we don't have Shayanais, but at least there is there is something pleasing environment in which we can get up and practice this Mangala arati and other sadhana angas, various angas of the sadhana. And then night time also, here we can see the family members, again they used to hear Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, then do some Kirtana, and then hear pastimes of the Lord, and then they again Shahanai playing, and with that they used to sleep very nicely. They didn't have any sleeping issues, nor they have any sleeping pills. All those things are not there. These are all modern inventions. Why? Because if you miss this kirtan, then you will be forced to live and work hard up to midnight. So in this modern world, how can we get so much time? But the point is, one has to mold his life in such a way that he can spend time for all these crucial aspects of life. In the name of economic development, improving his economy, if one neglects these aspects of Krishna consciousness life, then he is missing a great opportunity. One may become a big businessman or a big professional or big whatever, big, but ultimately he will not be able to achieve the perfection if he misses this opportunity. So if you are very rich and you can afford, yes, you can organize a gorgeous worship for the Lord. Like for example, in these palaces, in all these royal palaces, royal families, they used to worship the deity of the Lord in their own palace, in their temples. If you see in any palace, there will be one temple. And then the royal families have to go compulsorily, attend Mangala arati, do their sadhana, and then hear about Krishna, and then take some prasadam. And then only they used to go for their royal duties. In some royal families, there is a fine system. If somebody, one of the members don't come, then Pujari will send a fine, 10 rupee bill, 20 rupee bill, like that. They are so strict about these aspects of life. In fact, their royal duties and other duties are considered secondary. The primary duty is reviving one's anubadhena, one's affection for the Supreme Lord. Hruda Shunvan Hare Katha, this is the key. One has to revive his attachment to hearing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Bhagavatam goes to say, what is that verse? Vishvakshena katha suyaha notpadaya ediratim. One may be doing his activities very nicely, royal or business or whatever activities nicely, but if he doesn't develop attachment to hearing Krishna Katha, then actually his life is a waste. He may be a wonderful student, he may be a wonderful professional, or a businessman, or a lawyer, or this or that. Every key that he presses, in his computer or laptop or mobile, every key that he does for his material life is simply waste of time unless he uses all this to develop attachment to Krishna Katha. How far we are developing that ruchi, that is an indication. Any questions? We'll stop here. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.